So let's talk about children, because that's really frightening.
Yes.
To then tell your children. So
Right.
What's your strategy and advice for that?
Well, the irony was that despite all of my years as a hospice nurse, I did both adult hospice as well as pediatric hospice. So yes, I took care of dying children. And I had so many years of experience helping children through very difficult circumstances, whether it was delivering the news of a diagnosis or end of life issues. So I knew up here what to do, cognitively what to do, but when it came to what was in my heart, I can't even begin to tell you how emotionally burdensome this experience was for me. So I knew how to do it, but the actual doing of it was so difficult and gave me a whole new perspective on the process for talking with children. So I get now how hard it is and how emotional it is. So acknowledging that is really important. I think that in my book, I outline exactly how to talk to children using developmentally appropriate language, outlining exactly what children know and at what ages. And let me back up for a second. The chapter 2 of the book is called Children Always Know. And what I know for sure, based on my experience both professionally as a nurse and a social worker, and now personally as a patient, is that no matter what we think, children always know when things are haywire in a family, whether it's a diagnosis, a divorce, a job loss. Children always know. So it's so important to include them from the beginning of the process throughout the trajectory.
And if you don't, I mean, again, you talk about that, they'll be scared anyway.
Well, if you don't, then children are left with their own devices. And what I know for sure is that when children are left alone without accurate information, they have the capacity to create things that are far worse than reality. And things can always get worse. I know this even doing hospice, right? You think, well, if somebody's dying, it can't get worse than that. Well, it can get worse when a child thinks that they were somehow responsible for that. And that's literally what children will do. Or in the case of a diagnosis, you know, take a heart attack, for example, or a cardiac disease. Children could think that they were somehow responsible. And so that's why it's so important to first acknowledge the fact that children always know. And secondly, engage them in the process. Now, one of the things that can be very helpful is to engage team members to help in the dialogue process.
And who's a team member?
A team member would be, you could say to your physician, for example, listen, I know I need to tell my kids, but A, I'm terrified, and B, I don't know how. So is there someone who could help me in this process? So the majority of the time, the doctor is going to say, absolutely. You could talk with a nurse practitioner. You could talk with a social worker. You could talk with a child development specialist. A child psychologist is another person who could help. You could either have a conversation with them to lay everything out, and it is comparable to what I do in the book, or you could even potentially have that person present when you're having the conversation with your children. So there are tools to help, and also acknowledge how incredibly difficult this really is.
Right. And again, these strategies, it's not just for breast cancer.
Absolutely.
It's any illness, could be divorce, could be someone losing it, could be anything.
Absolutely. Could be
strategies for communication.
Natural disaster, you know.
Whatever. Right. Anything. The neighbor up the street, whatever it is, it's really important. So it's so valuable for people to understand and have the skills to talk to kids about it.